So my dear students, in the previous session we have actually studied about the introduction of statistics in economics. So it was the introductional chapter, and in the previous session we have discussed about what is economics, what is statistics, how the statistics has been actually utilized or used in economics. The definition of statistics we have seen, and the application of statistics in economics, why it has been actually considered, what is the importance of statistics in economics, we have seen in the first chapter. Today we are going to deal with the second chapter of statistics for economics in PUC first year. The second chapter, the title is collection of data. So as the title says, we are going to start with the statistical techniques or the tools which are used gradually in economics. The very first tool or the technique is actually collection of data. The data have to be collected for any survey, for any enquiry, for any economic analysis. We need data. The data has to be collected. In what ways the data will be collected is studied in this chapter. That is, the methods of data collection have been dealt with in this chapter. So before going into the collection of the data, we have to actually understand certain concepts. The first concept is actually the variable. If you know the variable, the meaning of the variable, which is used in every chapter afterwards, the variable is a quantity or it is a thing which assumes different values in a particular study. So which takes different values is called variable. This variable is commonly used in statistics. For example, as if you want to know the production of food grains in different years, and if it is represented in a tabular form, then in one column we are going to say years. In another column we are going to mention the production of food grains. So now there are two things which are varying, which are changing. The first one is the years. The years which are changing, for example 1970, 1980, 1990, 2000, like this. Then these are the different values in the years. And the food grains, production of food grains, the millions of tons, it has been actually mentioned in the second column. Now these food grains also vary. The production of the food grains in quantities, they also vary. They are not constant. They are changing every year. Therefore, in one column we have got years, in another column we have got the quantity of food grains produced. Now, these two are called actually variables. So the variable here, one variable is actually years. It is represented as X. Generally in statistics, the variables are represented by the capital letters of the last English alphabets, X, Y, Z, like that. So generally it is used, X is used for indicating a variable. Here the years which vary, different years have been actually mentioned, and that is called as X. And the production production of food grains. It is denoted by Y. Now, so X and Y are two variables which assume different values. So that is called variable. For example, I want to know the marks scored by the students by you. For example, this is a class where nearly there are 80 students, and I want to know the marks scored by the students in mathematics in SSLC examination. Then a student has scored 100, one has scored 35, another student has scored 68, 75, like this. So the marks scored is actually a variable. We can call it as X. X is marks. Marks, that X assumes different values. For this student it is 100, for this student it is 35, for another student it is 68. So like this, it assumes different values. Therefore, the variable which assumes different values, it is a quantity which is assuming different values, is called variable. So if you understand this one, the variable, for every survey we have got different variables. So sources of data. So we need data or informations or statistics, and these data have to be actually used in any survey or in any inquiry or for any analysis of the economic phenomena. So where the sources of data means where from the data is collected. The sources of the data can be mainly classified into two types. One is primary data, another one is secondary data. Primary data and the secondary data. Here, one who is going to collect the data, he is called as enumerator or investigator, or he is also called as researcher. For some research work, he may be collecting the data, he may be the enumerator, or he may be the researcher or the investigator. Now, if the enumerator is going to collect the data at the first time, a fresh data, or it is called as first hand data, nobody else have collected, only that enumerator has gone to the respondent who is processing the data, who is processing the informations, and now the enumerator is going to collect the data from the respondent at the first time, a fresh data. Nobody else have collected. It is collected at the first time, is called primary data. So the primary data is the original source of data, that is newly collected. The data has been newly collected. Now the enumerator, he is going to respondent, ask certain questions and get the information. That is called as primary data. And what is secondary data? The data which has been already collected by different agencies or different investigators or different enumerators. Now it is used by somebody else. That is, originally the second enumerator is not going to collect the data. The first enumerator originally has collected the data. He has put it in a certain forms. He has it may be published or unpublished, but that data is used by somebody else for different works or research works or different the surveys or different studies, and that is called as secondary data. That means the primary data which is used by somebody else is called secondary data. For example, we have got textbooks, or we have got the journals published by different departments, or the periodicals, newspapers, research papers, or the books written by the economists, and all these data, all these informations are actually what? They have been already systematically collected. Now we are going to refer that data. Therefore, it is called as secondary data. The secondary data is what we are not actually going to collect from the original source. Already it is collected, we are using it. For example, in the textbook we have got numerous data, informations which are actually what systematically, scientifically collected. We are using it, and that is called as secondary data. Now let us go for a survey. Now we want to make a survey. What is survey? Survey is a device, or it is a method of collecting informations from the different individuals. I want to make a survey, or I want to make a study. For that I require data, and that data have been actually collected. Now I am going to actually what the respondents, and I am going to collect the data. For example, there is a company which want to actually what release a new product. Then it wants to have the informations about the quality, or what is the tastes and preferences of the consumers. Then it has to fix the quality standard, and then price and the quantity that has to be produced. The company will make a survey. Like that, a political party is also going to actually what it want to select a candidate for the election. Then it wants to what it wants the candidate to win. For that it wants to know the honesty, popularity, and his attitudes towards the society. Everything has been studied by the political party so as to select a person as a candidate. So like this, in different areas the surveys have been actually conducted. To make the survey, to conduct the survey, we need actually what the set of questions, or the group of questions. The set of questions is called questionnaire. It is called questionnaire. The questionnaire is nothing but the set of questions which will be asked to the respondent by the enumerator, and the respondent has to answer the questions. And those questionnaire has to be actually preferred, or it has been actually framed, or it has been actually what it has been actually constructed by the enumerators or by that agency. Now the questionnaire is the backbone. It is the most important device for the successful of any survey, for the success of any inquiry. For that, questionnaire is extremely important. Then what are the good qualities, or what are the features, salient features, or the characteristics of a questionnaire? So this is a phenomena, or this is an event that is conducted, or it is interacted between enumerator and the respondent, and in between them there is a questionnaire. Questionnaire consists of several questions. And what should be the nature or feature of the good questionnaire? What are the features? Now let me briefly explain the salient or the important features of the questionnaire. But in the textbook, NCERT has given certain selected questions, examples, so as to illustrate the features. That means they have given beautiful examples which can be discussed in the classes. Because of the lack of time, I am not going deep into it, but I will say the main features of the questionnaire. The first of all, the questionnaire should not be too long. That means what? The questionnaire, the set of questions, should not contain too many questions. Then it should be as small as possible. That is, the respondent should not be what? Discouraged by seeing numerous or plenty of questions. But the purpose of the survey, it has to be actually done. It has to be saved, or it has to be actually what? Successful. But as far as possible, minimum number of questions should be framed. It should be as small as possible. And the second thing is, the questionnaire actually should move from general to specific. It means all of a sudden you should not go for asking the questions of you should not go for asking specific questions or the central theme of the survey. First of all, you have to go from the general things. Some general questions should be asked related to the survey, but after that you have to go to the specific questions so that the respondent will be comfortable to answer the questions. So it is also very important. And then the questionnaire should be precise, clear, without any doubt. That is, it should be straight. It should not confuse the respondent. The respondent should answer the questions easily. He can grasp the questions in an easy manner. It should be clear. He should clearly understand the question and answer it. There should not be any ambiguity or there should not be any doubt in the questions. The questions should be clear, precise, so that the respondent can easily answer the questions. And that is, it should not be ambiguous. And then the question should not actually contain double negatives. For example, couldn't you, wouldn't you, like this, so that it will be confusing the respondent. The question should be direct. It should not contain double negatives or confusing. So that is also important. And then the question should not be a leading question. It means what? The question should not contain the hint to answer, certain idea, so that respondent can grasp the answer in the question itself. That should not be done. For example, in the textbook they have given actually, what is that? How do you feel about the flavor of this high quality tea? They have mentioned high quality. High quality means actually what is leading. The tea itself is of high quality, the flavor should be good. For example, in the same manner you can have, so how do you rank? How do you rate the highest run getter in the test, Sachin Tendulkar? If they ask the question like this, how do you rate him? What they have mentioned actually, highest run getter. It means what? You will automatically rate him as number one. That should not be done. Simply, what is your rank for Sachin Tendulkar? That's all. So by his knowledge, he has to actually give the rank. So like this, the question should not be a leading question. The question should not lead the respondent to the answer in itself. He should give the new answer out of his own consciousness. Understand? So that is one more thing. And the question should be actually what? So it should be clear in the sense what? The questions should lead to the purpose, that means fulfillment of the purpose of the survey. The questions should get all the informations so that the enumerator can use those questions in an easy manner. So everything that has to be done while dealing with the survey. The survey should be conducted in such a manner that all the question, that is the questionnaire or the set of questions, so it should be systematically designed and there should not be any confusion, and it should be asked to the respondent, or respondent should react in a simple or direct manner. So all these things should be there. That means what? You should not have alternatives. The direct answer should be given. The question should not give rise to alternative answers. So there should be only one answer for that, and that should be, these are the salient or important features of the questionnaire. Now we understood what is a questionnaire. It's a set of questions that has to be actually asked with the respondents by the enumerators. Now Apart from this, we can have two types of questionnaires. One is called closed-ended or structured questions. Closed-ended means actually you will have particular answers there. You don't have any other choices. For example, the closed-ended questions can be two-way question. Two-way in the sense, so you can answer yes or no. There are the only two possibilities. It may be a two-way questions. So the answer is only two alternatives, one yes or otherwise no. And otherwise, you might have seen in your question papers in SLC examinations, there can be multiple choice questions. Generally, there will be 4 answers, 3 to 4 answers. So you have to choose or you have to choose the best answer out of the 4. And that is called actually what? Multiple choice question. So the closed-ended question can be two-way questions or multiple choice questions. But this is very easy to make the analysis. The enumerator can use codify, and it can be used for the further analysis easily, because he will get the informations in a systematic manner. Easily he can codify them. Therefore, these closed-ended questions have got the merit like this. But these closed-ended questions restrict the respondent to give some alternative answers. So he is not allowed to answer out of this. For example, if you want to inquire about, for example, the popularity of a film star in a class, if you want to inquire the students, then I will give the 4 film stars. But there may be a student who wants a star apart from these 4, one more extra film star. He may be interested, or he may adore, or he may be the popular star. He may be the fan of that popular star. That means apart from 4 alternatives, the respondent may have the one more alternative or extra answer that cannot be given in closed-ended or structured questionnaire. Second one is open-ended question. Open-ended question means actually what? So there will be no multiple choice questions. So it is descriptive or narrative. For example, give your opinion on the usage of mobiles in the schools and colleges by the students. Then it is actually open-ended. So somebody say the usage of mobile is good for, especially in this corona time, so it is extremely needed, you say. Somebody say no, there are some demerits of the mobiles, it will have the negative influence of the minds of the students, they may say. So every respondent has got different opinions. If I want to ask the opinions of the students, so they will react differently. So therefore I cannot interpret easily all the answers of the different respondents. So it is rather difficult. So therefore these open-ended questions rather difficult to handle. But sometimes such questionnaires also they have been actually framed. So you have these 2 types, closed-ended or open-ended. It is also called as unstructured. Unstructured means the answers are not given. So the respondent by himself, he has to give the answers, and that is called as open-ended questions. Now we know the questionnaire is ready. We are actually we have got a good questionnaire with us, or if we are the investigators, if we are the enumerators, we have got the set of questions or the questionnaire. Now I want to collect the data. So what are the different methods of collecting the data? There are different ways, different methods of collecting the data, and they are called as actually mode of data collection. or different methods of data collection. So the different methods have been actually adopted for getting the data information. So it depends upon the convenience of the enumerator or that agency. So that is what is the scope of their study, what is the scope of their survey. Depending on that, they will have different methods. The first method is called personal interviews. As the very name indicates, personal interviews. So as you know, in conducting a survey, there are two parties. One is enumerator, another one is respondent. Personal interview is a method of data collection in which the enumerator and the respondent, they come face to face. They will have the direct interaction. So the enumerator has got the list of questions. He is going to ask the respondent directly all those questions, and respondent has to answer the questions one by one. So what is the benefit of this? So if there is a doubt in the questions, it can be clarified so that respondent will answer in a better manner. If the answers are not clear, actually it is not clear to this enumerator, then he can clarify, or he can understand about the answer given by the respondent. So there can be interaction can be done, all the doubts can be cleared, and this will one more advantage of this is what actually the enumerator, he can grasp or understand the reactions, facial or the emotional reactions of the respondent, so that it will give some additional information for the enumerator. So therefore this personal interview will give somewhat exact data or the more reliable data, so that it can be used for the surveys. But it has got disadvantages also. This personal interview, it requires the well-trained personnel, well-trained enumerators. It is costly, so it takes a long time. So the time consuming, it is costly, and this personal interview, it requires what? A large team of enumerators. Therefore it will be not desired in some cases. Everywhere this personal interviews cannot be done. And the second method is mailing surveys. Mailing means actually questionnaire. Inside the bracket I have written questionnaire. Questionnaires have been actually sent through posts or through certain media. It has been actually sent to the respondents. So it has been mailed, sent by the post. Now the questionnaires can be sent to the respondent. Some time period will be given. The respondent has to answer these questions and send it back. Now this is very helpful where the enumerator cannot go, or he does not have the access to the remote areas. Here he cannot approach or he cannot go and conduct the survey. There these surveys can be mailed so that he can get the informations. And one more thing is, the respondent has got sufficient time. He is relaxed, so he can go through the questions. In the personal interviews, he has to answer quickly. There will be no extra time available or sufficient time available here. So in his house, in his office, he can think of those questions and answer in a relaxed manner. So he is independent. He has got sufficient time. He can answer in a relaxed manner. So he is free to answer. So that is the advantage of what? The mailing service. But the difficulty is what actually, when you mail, the enumerator mails actually the question is, so it may not be sent back. There can be poor response from the respondents. Some questions cannot be answered and it may be lost in the mails. So these are the difficulties or disadvantages of the mailing service. At the same time, if there is doubt in the questions and those questions cannot be clarified because enumerator is not there, only questionnaire is there with the respondent. Therefore, that is the demerit of the mailing service. But this mailing service is also done in this modern world by SMS, short messaging service, SMS. So it has become very popular in the modern world. That is, through the SMS, many companies, many agencies, they are going to collect the informations, collect the data. So that has been actually done through SMS. It is the most popular method in the modern world. So that is also a type of mailing service. That means what? Through where the enumerator and respondent don't come face to face, but respondent get the time to answer in a specified time period or in a time period. He is liberal, he is independent to answer it without any hesitation. So that has been done in the modern world. And third one is telephone interviews. So this is a method now. Telephone, instead of telephone we can say now mobile also. It has become instead of land phones, so we are actually using mobiles. It has become more popular nowadays. And this telephone, in the telephone interviews, a particular time has been actually given, intimated to the respondent by the enumerator. So on that time he is going to make a phone call to the respondent, and respondent through the telephone he is going to answer the questions, and those things have been actually recorded. So this is what you say, some less costly or cheaper method of collecting the data or collecting the informations, and it has been actually collected. So it can be, the enumerator need not go to the that place. The traveling expenses, everything has been actually it is cut off or it has been reduced, and through phone from his office he can collect the data, and that is called telephone interviews. In the telephone interviews you can even clarify the doubts, and all those things can be actually done. But where there is no telephone services, where there is no, in the day-to-day life we observe that the mobile services, net services are not available. So that is the difficulty of the many of the students who are actually not observing these online classes, especially in the rural areas. They don't have the network connection, so rather difficult. This telephone interviews is possible, it will be successful where the telephones are available, where mobile services are available, where there is internet connection. There only this can be the successful one. So these are the three methods of collecting, modes of data collection, method of collecting the data. So one of the important questions, explain the modes of data collection. Now one small concept has been actually studied, or it has been narrated in the textbook, that is pilot survey or pretesting. What do you mean by this? You see here, there is a large population. So your survey consists of large number of units or individuals. It involves huge cost. It involves trained enumerators. So it is more time consuming. Then what is the time required? How many enumerators are actually required for this? And what is the cost involved? To know that, before going into the entire population or entire all the units of the survey, some individuals have been selected, a small group of individuals have been actually selected, and the survey is conducted on that small group or part of the population, a small part. It is called pilot survey or pretesting. Now After conducting the survey on this small group or the small part, we can understand. So many units, for example, 50 individuals have been selected. If there are 5,000 units, only 50 units have been selected, and the survey is conducted on them. We will understand the time requirement, the number of enumerators, and the cost involved in it. All those things we can understand by conducting the survey on 50 or a small section of the entire population. Then we can decide. Generally it is done by some agencies like this. So when there is a large survey or huge survey has to be conducted, then they will go for this pilot survey or pre-testing. That is called pre-testing. So this is a small concept that has been actually introduced. Now we will go for census survey and sample survey. So very important thing. Census and sample survey. This census word has been understood by the students in the previous classes. So in India, every 10 years, the census have been actually conducted. In the census, as you have seen, each and every citizen of the country have been actually approached. The different informations on every citizen, every individual of the country have been actually collected. So thorough, deep informations have been actually collected from every individual. No unit is actually left out, and that is called actually census survey, or considering all the units in the population. Here there comes a word, population. So generally we know the population means the people, but here in statistics, population has got a different meaning. For a particular survey, we call a population means all the units gathered, all the units combined. So all the units under survey is called population. The word population should not be confused. It is all the units under survey. And then, so as you know, the census survey that has been conducted in India for every 10 years, and huge study has been actually done. But for conducting the census, it requires large number of enumerators. It requires huge amount. It is just like a war-like program. Therefore, it has been done every 10 years, not every year. So that we should know. And then in most of the cases, especially in statistics, the entire survey is not desirable. It cannot be done. It is rather difficult to conduct the census survey. Then we have to go for the sample. That is sample survey. What you mean by a sample? So you have got the huge population. A part of the population has to be extracted, or it has to be taken. All the units cannot be studied. Then we have to go for what actually? Some units have to be actually taken from the population. Some units have to be taken, considered from the population, and the study is made on those units. After studying or collecting the informations on those units, we are going to take the decisions about the population. Very important thing. Sample survey. Why sample survey has been conducted? Sample survey is cheaper. Sample survey, it requires less number of enumerators. It is less time consuming and more effective. Therefore, when a small part of the population is taken and the study is made on that sample, informations have been actually gathered, some calculations have been actually done, then we are going to make the statement about the population. Very important thing. After studying the sample, we are going to decide or judge about the population. and that is the benefit of the sample survey, and it is very much popular in the statistics because the entire population cannot be studied. And to take the sample, to extract the sample, that means what? To take some units of the population. So we are adopting two methods in statistics. One is random sampling and another one is non-random sampling. So what is random sampling? As the very name indicates, random, the units are selected randomly from the population. So randomly from the population, that means what? We don't know which unit is selected, or in other words, every unit of the population has equal chance or probability, a new word has been actually used, probability of being selected, equal chance of being selected, and that is called random sampling. In the textbook they have given one example. If you want to study the average income of 300 houses or households in a locality, then you cannot go for all the 300 houses. Then you have to actually what? Select some 10 houses, so that you can make a survey on those 10 houses and then come to the conclusion about the entire locality. For that, how the random sampling has been actually done? For the 300 houses, we are going to give the numbers. For this house, 1, 2, 3, like this, you have got 300. There are 300 numbers written in the chits or in the papers. Now, these chits have been actually what? They have been actually put in a bowl and they have been well shuffled. Now, you are going to take, if you want 20 units, the size of the sample is 20. If you want to take 20 units out of the bowl, then at randomly you are going to select. You don't know which house will be included. So therefore, the 20 houses have been actually selected. This is called actually simple random sampling or simply random sampling. That is, all the units are not selected, only 20 units have been actually selected. This is also called as lottery method. Why it is called as lottery method? So don't know the person who has to, there are several persons who actually purchased the lottery ticket. Nobody knows whether he will be the lucky winner. It's a lottery, it's a luck. Like this, here also there are 300 houses, only 20 houses have been selected randomly. So therefore it is called as random sampling, or it's also called as lottery method. So this is random sampling. And second one is non-random sampling. So it is not explained in detail in the textbook, but we should know. Here the enumerator, or what you say, the researcher or investigator, he has got some particular idea. So he has got certain purpose. So he is not going to select the units randomly. Now he will select some units from certain section or certain sector of that locality. In some sections he may select 60%, in some other sector he may select 40%, or he maybe have some other idea. For example, first unit is selected, so he will put in a row, first unit is selected, and after 3 leaving 2, the next one, again leaving 2, the next one. So these are different techniques. Actually they are not mentioned in the textbook, but you should know that the units are not selected randomly. So the enumerator has got his own idea to select the units. He has got certain purpose. He has got his pre-assumption for the survey. So it is non-randomly done, but 20 units have been actually taken. It is called non-random sampling. So actually they are systematic sampling, stratified sampling. There are different things, but we should know that the sample which is not taken randomly is called non-random sampling. So there may be some specifications, there may be some purpose, there may be some objective to select particular units in the population. So that is called as non-random sampling. So now, so this is actually what? Census survey and sample survey. In most of the cases, census survey cannot be done. There we have to go for sample survey. How to select the sample is by two methods. One is random sampling, another one is non-random sampling. Now, after selecting the sample, we are going to study, we are going to make a deep study. What is the advantage of the sample? So we can make extensive study, we can gather more informations, or we can make deep study about the units selected. So that is the advantage of the sample. Now, after taking the samples, we have got now two types of errors. That is, we have made mistake there. Actual survey is actually what? The census survey or the population survey is the original survey. It has to be conducted for the real true value. But we have taken the sample, and this sample, taking the sample itself is what? It itself is erratic. It is not exact, isn't it? So it will not give the perfect idea, but it is inevitable in statistics. Therefore, we come across two types of errors while conducting the survey. So sampling error. This error actually it has appeared because of the sample taken. We are not studying all the units in the population. We have taken a part of the population which is called a sample. We are making the study on the sample now. So due to the selection of the sample, we have committed mistake, we have committed error, and that is called as actually sampling error. So this sampling error is just common, but it can be minimized. When the sampling error occurs, it will be severe when you take small sample. There are 300 houses. If you take only 5 houses, sampling error will be more. If you take more and more houses, the sampling error can be reduced. That is what? The sampling error can be minimized or reduced by taking considerably large size of the sample. If you make the sample size more, then you will have the sampling error less and less. For example, they have given one good example in the textbook. Consider 5 farmers, their income, the 5 farmers from Manipur. Their income is given, 5 farmers' income has been actually given. What are the income actually? 500, 550, 600, 650, 700. So 5 farmers, the income of the 5 farmers. Very simple, in a very simplest manner they have given this example. So 5 farmers, their incomes have been actually given. This is population. What is this? This is population. So population consists of how many? This is population or universe. It is also called as universe, because all the units under study are considered, and that is there are 5 units. So this is population or universe. Now I want to calculate the average income of the farmers, and the average income, how to calculate that, you know, you have to add all these incomes, divide by 5. and that is the average income. Divided by 5. So you add all the 5 values, divide by number of values, that is the arithmetic mean, which is also called as average. Now, the average income, as you know, it will be 600. Average income is 600. So this statistical measurement or statistical tool which has been actually developed or used or calculated using all the units of the population universe is called parameter. It is called parameter. Parameter. That is the true value of the population. It is called parameter. Now, I will take a sample of 2. That is 2 units I will consider. It is 500 and 600 by some method. So I have got 2 units in the sample, 500 and 600. Now I am going to calculate the average income of these 2 farmers which are included in the sample. So 500 plus 600 divided by 2, you will have 550. This is the sample mean, this is the population mean, and this is called parameter, and this is called the statistical tool or any measurement which is based on the sample is called estimate. Estimate. Now this estimate is done. Estimate is what? 550. What is the population parameter? That is 600. There is a difference between these 2, and that is called as sampling error. Now the sampling error can be calculated. So sampling error is equal to true value of the parameter minus estimate. So true value is 600, that is the parameter value of the parameter, and estimate is 550, so that is 50. So sampling error is 50 in this case. So you can have different samples. So the sample is always smaller than the population. So the error should be there, error will be there. Sometimes luckily the estimate may coincide with the parameter, but in most of the cases, so they differ. The difference between the true value of the parameter and the estimate is called sampling error. Non-sampling errors is they appear not because of the sampling method. Sampling error appears because of the samples taken. We are not considering all the units, therefore the sampling error occurs. But non-sampling errors, they arise not because of the sampling method, because of some other reasons. But these non-sampling errors are severe. They are dangerous actually while conducting the surveys, because they are severe than the sampling errors. So what are the non-sampling errors? Non-sampling errors. So the non-sampling errors, there are 3 kinds of errors. The first one is errors in data acquisition. Errors in data acquisition. By collecting the informations, the enumerator goes to the respondents. he is going to collect the informations. Now the acquisition or gathering of the data have been actually done. Now these errors which is actually done, these errors which is in data acquisition, that means while collecting the data, so the respondents may not answer the questions, he may not give the correct informations, or the enumerator himself may not collect, or he has not visited the required units of the sample or required units. There he may not get the correct, he may not collect the information properly. So such things can happen. That means these errors they will appear. That may be human errors, some natural errors they can appear, and therefore there may be in the data acquisition or collection itself, the errors may be there. For one simple example is, so if the information is 31, so enumerator not by hearing properly, he might have mentioned it as 13. So the original data is 31, but he has mentioned wrongly, human error, 13. So this is actually what? Error in data. Such errors can happen. Or there can be certain things. For example, if there is a teacher in the class who wants to have the measurement of his table, he calls the students, measure the table. Now the length of the table has to be measured, but every student, to the accuracy, they cannot have the same measurement, they differ. The prices of the fruits in the market, they differ from shop to shop. So like this, so there can be some errors in the data acquisition. And the second one is non-response errors. Non-response errors. So non-response, that means what? The respondents, they hesitate to answer the questions, or they may not give the proper or reliable data. So that is called non-response errors. Or even the enumerator may not have visited the respondents who are actually required now for the survey. He might not have visited because of some reasons, he was not able to visit some units. Then it is called non-response errors, because those informations were very much required by the enumerator, but he has not actually collected, or the respondent has not responded properly, and that is non-response errors. And the third one is actually sample bias. So the sampling bias is actually what? It is not the sampling error. While taking the sample itself, the bias can occur, or the error can be committed. That means what? In a particular area, so some particular units have to be actually taken in the sample, but he has not taken properly. By selecting the samples itself, sampling error, it occurs after selecting the sample. But here sampling bias means by taking the samples itself, he has committed the mistakes. That means what? He has not designed, or he has not framed the proper selection of the samples. The samples have not been selected properly, therefore it is called a sampling bias. So these are the non-sampling errors which are actually considered, they are actually severe. They are severe than the sampling errors. So we have got two types of errors because of the sampling method, or even without the sampling, even in the direct survey, studying all the units of the population also, we may commit the errors like this. Or if you have taken the sample, then you have got the sampling error. So these are the things we have to consider in what you say, the taking the sampling or considering the census survey and sample survey. At the end of the chapter, they have mentioned about what? The census of India and NSSO. A small note has been actually given. NSSO. So this NSSO is actually National Sample Survey Organization. Now it's called as actually National Sample Survey Office. And this NSSO is a governmental body, or it is actually governed by the government or central government. So it has got the responsibility of collecting the data or conducting the census survey. So as you know, this census survey, it has been actually done even during the British rule, colonial period. The first census was conducted. As you know, the census has been actually explained earlier. Studying each and every unit of the population is called census. And in the year 1881, the first census was conducted. And after getting the independence, or in the independent India, in 1951, the first census was conducted after independence, when in the free India. And every 10 years, we are going to have the census survey. And in the census survey, the entire population is studied. The composition of the population, economic standards, social standards, everything has been actually considered, or they have been studied, and all the informations are recorded in the Registrar General of India. So there all the informations have been actually recorded. And now the recent survey is actually what? It has been conducted in the year 2011. And in the 2011, we have got 120 crores of population in India. Already 10 years are actually over, almost 10 years. The new census have to be actually conducted, and this NSSO has got the responsibility, along with the Central Statistical Organization, or what to say, the Central General of India, or Register of India. So there we have got all these informations, and this NSSO is an important organization which is going to study or collect the informations about the population. In different rounds of study, it is going to actually collect the informations. And this is what, in this chapter, even though it seems to be somewhat lengthy, but in this chapter we have entered into the first statistical method or technique. Now from the chapter 2, we are going to use the statistical techniques or the methods. Chapter wise, we are going to have new techniques. Very first technique is collection of data. That is it is involved in the definition of statistics in the singular sense. So collection of data, it has been actually done, and how the data has been actually collected, how they have been actually how they have been represented, or the tabulations and representation and analysis, those will be studied in the next chapter. So now the collection of data is to be understood properly. What you meant by primary and secondary sources of data, modes of collecting the data, census and sample surveys, and sampling error and non-sampling errors. So this is what is studied in the second chapter. Thank you, one and all.